Welcome to A Better Life. I'm your host, Hank Yennigan, and today we're speaking with Mr. Lloyd Kelly. How you doing, Lloyd?
I'm good. How are you, Hank? Thanks for having me here.
Yes, indeed. Good people watching A Better Life. Lloyd is running for U.S. Congressman, the District 2 office, and the District 2 goes from Baton Rouge down the river all the way to New Orleans, and so Lloyd, District 2 is a pretty large district, right?
It is. I like to say it starts in the middle of Lake Pontchartrain,
right,
and goes all the way to Baton Rouge.
Right. Lloyd, tell the people watching A Better Life a little about yourself. Where you from? Have you held a political office before, and things of that nature?
So let me start with my connection to Louisiana.
Yeah.
My father was born in White Castle, Louisiana, which, by the way, happens to be in the district. So, but he left. It's one of those interesting stories. He kind of had to leave. My father was born in 1913,
Wow.
and he kind of had to leave due to, let's just say, he was dating the wrong woman. And so back in 1920 something, and he had to leave. So our connection to Louisiana was kind of cut off. He moved to Chicago. When I was born, my parents lived in Chicago. They subsequently divorced. I was raised in Denver, Colorado. Wow. And then back in 2012, I came to New Orleans for Thanksgiving. And I was living in Chicago at the time. And when I was outside cooking the turkey in an electric roaster, and I realized we were at the end of November, and I was standing outside in a pair of shorts, flip-flops, and a t-shirt. And I made the decision at that moment, I will be moving here. And so I'm a late bloomer, everybody. I didn't graduate. When I graduated from college, I was 52 years old.
There you go.
And so it was my senior year, and that was in November. I graduated in May, and I was here in July.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. And I've done a few things politically, been involved in politics a little bit, but mostly activism. Never held an elected office, never really run for an office, didn't think about it. Funny story how I got into this race. Literally 6 days before we had to file, I got a call. It was a person I've been working on an issue with, and we'll get into that. I spent this summer working on filing a lawsuit to prevent the moratorium on foreclosures and evictions from being lifted back in September. So we spent the summer writing this legislation. We were suing the United States government, the state of Louisiana, the governor, Mayor Cantrell, and everybody else in between. And we'll talk about that later. But
sure.
I spent the summer working with this attorney to get this written. And so we never filed it. We wrote it, but we never filed it. And then I get this call from him, and he's on the phone, and he said, "Lloyd, would you mind talking to some folks?" And I said, "Sure." So conference call, I had no idea. And within a minute and a half, after everybody introduced themselves, they said, "Lloyd, we're calling because we want to know if you would run for Cedric's seat."
Wow, that's great.
Well, yeah, it was until I realized it's 6 days from filing. No campaign infrastructure,
Wow.
no fundraising mechanism. We just decided, okay, why not?
Yes.
And so we've been running. And one thing that I've noticed is that I've been running an issues-oriented campaign. I don't do the, let's all unite and we'll all work together and life is going to be great. I don't do that. I have three very specific issues, and now I'm adding a fourth one, but three specific issues that I want to work on in Washington. The first being the moratorium, an extended moratorium on evictions and foreclosures, particularly with regard to the 2nd Congressional District in Louisiana. New Orleans, which makes up more than half of the district,
sure,
is literally at risk, twice as high the risk of a foreclosure or eviction than any other place in the entire country.
Wow. Well, Lord,
So, I'm sorry. So what we need is first, no one knows where this pandemic is going. And I'm sorry, I do not believe it's going to be over when they're telling us, because even though we have the vaccines, and that's a wonderful thing, and God has blessed us, we also have the two new variants, the New York variant and the California variant, that the vaccine doesn't work on.
right.
So you start throwing millions of people into the streets, you're going to have a real health crisis on your hands, because that's 10 million people being evicted from their homes is probably the biggest super spreader event we've ever had.
You cannot do that at the height of this pandemic, and like you said, I agree with you. You don't know when it's going to end, and putting families out on the street, and because of the pandemic, because of people being laid off and don't have a job or whatever, and people cutting back, it's unfortunate. Well, Lloyd, tell us a little bit more about and then we'll get you other 2 or 3 points. Tell the people watching A Better Life, where do you live in New Orleans, and family and anything like basics about yourself.
Well, my partner and I live in New Orleans East. I've been here since 2013. He's been here forever. Pretty well known. Let's see, what else about my family? My stepfather is still, my biological father's deceased. My mother just died right over 2 years ago. And my stepfather still lives in Denver, and my brother lives in Denver. I'm just not that interesting of a guy.
Are you working now, or are you just full-time?
Oh, that's a good thing. Thank you for this opportunity. We just launched a new company. It's called 420 Health Solutions. My partner is a retired MD, and recently Louisiana changed its rules regarding medical marijuana. So we just Googled medical marijuana, and I was shocked at how marijuana should have been a option for people decades ago. I don't know if you know anything about marijuana, but
Really.
I'm sorry?
Not really. I mean,
I would encourage you.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to go to our website, and it's 420-hs.com. And we have a whole section about the conditions that medical marijuana has. So you're going to get me talking about the benefits of medical marijuana, and we're not going to talk about my campaign issues.
No. Listen. Let's close out this segment. Good people watching A Better Life, Mr. Lloyd Kelly here. And I just feel in my heart he's got a lot of issues he wants to talk about, and which is great. We're going to take a little brief pause, and we'll be right back for A Better Life, talking with Mr. Lloyd Kelly. Welcome back to A Better Life. We're here talking with Mr. Lloyd Kelly. Lloyd lives in New Orleans, and he is a candidate for the U.S. Congress seat District 2. Like we talked about, it covers most of New Orleans, up the river, and the different parishes all to North Baton Rouge. Lloyd, your heart is to run for Congress and be elected, and you got a great opportunity. Tell us some of the 3 or 4 issues you started to talk about a little while ago that really is on your heart, that you want to see changed or laws changed in Louisiana or in the United States for the good of the Louisiana people.
So let me quickly finish up with the moratorium, because there's 2 pieces to the legislation that I'm working on. One is that the science community has to say it's safe. Pandemic is over. And second, the government has to have time to figure out a plan, which the easiest thing to do is to use FHA to refinance everyone's home and to work something out with landlords and that kind of thing. And we can just reset everything. And so the government has the resources to do it. Do we have the political will to do it? And I think if I'm in Congress, we will have the political will to do it. So my second issue, which is a little more controversial, is a complete and total overhaul of our criminal justice system as a country.
Yes.
And it starts with a repeal of the exception to the 13th Amendment. Are you familiar with the exception to the 13th Amendment?
I may be if you bring it to my recollection.
So basically, the 13th Amendment is what gave African Americans their freedom after slavery. And it says that no person shall be enslaved or forced into servitude except for those that have been duly convicted of a crime.
I agree.
So when you break that down, if you're incarcerated,
right,
then you are a slave.
Wow. Okay.
That's what it says. It very clearly states that.
Wow.
And so then we have this little thing in our system called a lease prisoner program. Have you ever heard of that? Because I hadn't until.
No, I haven't either.
So a lease prisoner program, and Louisiana is real good for it, can lease the labor of their slaves to private industry.
Like picking up trash on the side of the interstate or something?
No, well, that could be something if it's a private company that has the contract to do it. Or they could man a call center. They can sew lingerie for national corporations or international corporations, but literally work, and they get paid 40 cents to $4 a day. And as a matter of fact, Michael Bloomberg used prison labor to make the phone calls for his campaign.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Check it out. So,
my simple way of thinking, taxpayers are paying for prisons or whatever to be, but then they're doing to help someone get elected. I mean,
well, he was paying them, but he was paying them 40 cents a day or $4 a day, something like that. And then in that situation, it was really funny. In that situation, I think it was the people were based in Oregon or Utah, one of those states like that. And he was paying them like $12 an hour, but the state only allowed a prisoner to earn like $20 a month.
Okay, let's focus on what exactly you want to change and then go to your next item.
Okay, so I want to repeal the exception to the 13th Amendment. Start there. Because I want to take the economic incentive out of putting people, particularly people of a certain hue, in prison for 3 joints and destroying young lives. 15 years old, you're being charged as an adult. So we have to look at that. We also have to address, there's a big issue in the state right now about those state patrol officers that got caught up in the tape, where they were caught on tape or text or something, where they were saying he's going to hurt tomorrow and he better, all that. We have to overhaul our system. That is just not acceptable. And we have to have some conversations around why it's happening. So I want to facilitate that. And finally, my third primary issue is reparations for descendants of American slaves. Now, I know that is not a popular thing with some folks. However, in this last election, we talked a lot about racial reconciliation. I don't think that's possible until the unpaid labor, the bill for the unpaid labor, 400 years of 256 of slavery, then another 100 and some odd years in Jim Crow, and then we have the prison industrial complex added on top of that, redlining, all these things. There's a bill due, and I want the citizens of the 2nd Congressional District to understand this point. This is not directed at an individual. This is not about an individual. It was the United States government that legalized slavery in this country. And so our fight is with the United States government. And one of the hard things to do is for Black people and white people to sit down and talk about race.
Right.
But the conversation has to start there.
Right.
Because, and me going for reparations is not an anti-anybody. Yeah. It is justice for 400 years of oppression and servitude. So those are my three big issues that I'm running on. I think that, and the other piece with the reparations, under my plan, reparations would uplift the entire, regenerate our economy, because I believe, for all intents and purposes, our middle class is gone. I'm sorry, folks, particularly poor white people. If you're working 3 jobs to pay your rent, you are no longer middle class. It doesn't happen. And you have people driving, teachers, professional people driving for Uber to make money to pay their rent.
Wow.
So this would, if we got behind this reparations plan, the money that would be generated through the economy would shift the economy. And basically the idea came from FDR's pulling us out of the Depression.
Right. Okay. Close out this segment. Tell us your number on the ballot, and the vote Saturday, March the 20th. And what's your number on the ballot? You said 11?
10. Number 10. Okay. Number 10. Lloyd Kelly, number 10.
All right. And so that's happening basically tomorrow. And
day after, yeah. We're here.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting.
Well,
I'm either going to look like a complete fool, or we're going to have made an impact. And that's what we think is happening, is that we're thinking we're making an impact.
Okay.
I've been on, done 1,000 different forums and all of that. And just to hear the candidates change their it's funny. So we're not on, right?
Yes. Yeah. And look, we need to take a break here. We will be right back. People watching ABL, I know there's a lot of interest out in what Lloyd Kelly is talking about as a congressman candidate for District 2, and we'll be right back for our final segment. All right, welcome back to A Better Life. This is our last segment to talk with Mr. Lloyd Kelly. People, Lloyd has really let his heart out on what he feels for the District 2 race coming up for this Saturday for U.S. Congressman District 2, representing New Orleans, up the river all the way to northern part of Baton Rouge. So, Lloyd, give us just we felt your heart on the 3 or 4 issues that you really want to focus on as any elected. But what do you encourage the people to do this Saturday, and just talk about their responsibility and what you need them to do?
I need people to vote. I mean, literally, just get out and vote. And if you can hear my voice, punch number 10 clearly. That's the best candidate. Mr. Kelly is awesome. But please get out and vote for someone. And I would point out that while everyone thinks we live in a democracy, we don't. We live in a representative democracy. And the difference is, in a democracy, everybody has a vote. But in a representative democracy, only one person has a vote, and they represent a large group of people, i.e. our Congress, 435 people plus the Senate, all of that. So it's important that you know who is representing you and what they feel. And I would just ask people to look at the candidates, particularly the ones that are considered the front runners or establishment candidates, and look at what they've done. They talk about a combined shared experience of over 40 years. Right. And look at where we're at. It took 11 years after Katrina. It took 11 years for New Orleans East, which makes up 66% or 2/3 of the footprint of the city of New Orleans is New Orleans East. It took 11 years to get a hospital. So I told you when I moved here, I was 52 years old. If I had had a heart attack, I was probably going to die because they couldn't get me to a hospital in time. And that is just not acceptable. And people that have been in experience, they have to be responsible for that. Yeah. How does our congressman who lives in New Orleans East not make it a focus that we get a hospital immediately. Or where's the economic infrastructure back in New Orleans East? It's
Yes.
my understanding.
Go ahead. No,
So,
I just wanted to talk. You just, the issues we talked about, and you're encouraging the people to get out to vote. I love New Orleans and love the people, and of course, love everything that goes with New Orleans, the food and the hospitality and everything. Just address the feelings of the New Orleans people and what you're out there on the streets and speaking to them every day, and you've expressed your heart on the 3 or 4 issues there. Anything else you need to feel like you need to close out and tell the people watching A Better Life? Again,
if you want a better life, then get better people to represent you. It's that simple. It was funny. We were in a forum and Canada talked about how they're concerned about the people living in Cancer Alley and how that ecological situation, but you voted to allow them to put a fossil fuel energy plant in New Orleans East. So I'm asking the folks, when you go to vote, think about who it is and what it is you're voting for. And I don't think I can say it any more plain than that.
I got you. Okay. What are some of the other issues? We have up here, if you're traveling from Los Angeles to Miami, you crossing that bridge in downtown Baton Rouge. Of course, I don't think that's part of your district, but it does affect the people that live in your district in northern Baton Rouge. If they got to go south or down to City Hall, it's a tremendous traffic problem. And I go to New Orleans all the time, but is there a traffic problem there?
Oh yeah. Our streets are about 6 inches wide. I mean, if we in New Orleans, a pothole is like built into the street before it's even opened up to the people. I mean, we have a horrible time here. And I did have, what I've said on this issue is this. There's a group called, I believe they're Ride NOLA or Ride New Orleans, but they focus on transportation issues. Right. The way I would run my office is this. I am not an expert on transportation issues. I don't know anything about it. However, they do. So what my office would do is work with them to draft the legislation that they feel we need, get me to understand it, not just simply introduce it.
Sure. Yeah. I remember as a child growing up in North Baton Rouge and even in high school, me and friends, we would catch a train in downtown Baton Rouge. Our parents would bring us to the train and go to New Orleans and go to the zoo or go to Pontchartrain Beach or something like that. And it was, then drive and to get on the train and come back late that evening. It's just putting New Orleans and Baton Rouge together. The people that, of course, that don't have a vehicle to get down there, that'd be an ideal transportation.
I would support something like that. I'm anything that's going to make people's lives easier, I'm 100% behind. There are some things we have to work on first, we really do have to get past this pandemic. And I think it's something like what you're talking about after the pandemic would be great. Just look at the jobs it would bring. Look at how it would connect the two.
Well, the families that they may have left New Orleans to come to school up here or vice versa. And mom and dad could go down there and visit son and daughter and children or vice versa, So
I would definitely support all of that. And that's the kind of person, the kind of congressman I would be is I look for a way to make it happen. And I will make this promise that I will never let big business or politicians put the needs of them before I would the constituents of the 2nd Congressional. Yes. But that doesn't mean that I won't sit down with the devil himself if I have to make something happen for us. Okay, Lloyd, the last 2 minutes here. Address the people watching A Better Life and just and encourage them to get out there and vote and support your platform and vote for you. Well, I will say this, that to the citizens of the 2nd Congressional, this district is one of the poorest in the country. On some levels, it's extremely poor, and then there are other people that are doing quite well. And that's just the way that, that I've noticed the culture of New Orleans is there's the haves and then there's the have-nots. And a lot of people think that's a racial thing, but it's really a class thing. But I think that one of the beautiful parts of New Orleans is that everybody works together. And I think that as a state, we haven't had the influence that other states have had.
Yes.
And I do not understand why. It's our leadership. Our leadership makes decisions that this isn't important to the people of New Orleans. Well, of the state of Louisiana. Well, I can say transportation is a big issue for us.
Yes.
Well, I can say that, foreclosures and evictions are a big issue for us.
Yes. And like you said, it's not it's all over where the United States, where the community's hurting because of the pandemic, and something really needs to be addressed now. Well, good people watching The Better Life, I think that you have heard and Lloyd Kelly speak from his heart regarding his concerns and things that he would like to see changed if he is elected congressman. Remember, this Saturday, March the 20th, 20th is election day for District 2 U.S. Congressman. And Lloyd, we wish you luck, and hope you have a blessed election, brother.
And thank you. I hope you punch number 10.
Thank you for watching A Better Life, people, and we'll see you the next show. God bless you.
Thank you.